It is very stressful to read again and again and still not remember. That is why mnemonics are helpful. In this video, I will share different ways to create mnemonics with examples. The two most commonly used methods to create mnemonics are using initials to create a word or a sentence. For example, to remember the triad of Horner syndrome, you can create word map, where M stands for meiosis, A for anhydrosis, P for ptosis. The example of sentence mnemonic is the mnemonic for carpal bones, which you might have heard. She looks too pretty. Try to catch her. The problem with using only initials is that if letters are repeated, it can be confusing. Third method of creating mnemonic is using more than one letter of the word to be remembered. For example, to remember the cancers associated with PTN gene, use more than one letter of the organs. PT represents prostate, T for tits, that is, breast, and the N for endometrium. Next method of creating mnemonic is making sense of numbers, like using the word none for number 9. For example, in Friedreich ataxia, chromosome 9 is involved. Mnemonic can be created as free taxi for none. Next method of making mnemonics is making sense of random letters. For example, in Friedreich ataxia, trinucleotide G, A is repeated. Mnemonic can be made here by using the words Friedrich and taxi and make a very small story. Friedrich wants a taxi, and his friend suggests,
"Get an app."
Next method of creating mnemonic is using pronunciation of the target word and make different word or words that is catchy. It can be linked to the other word you want to remember. For example, tacrolimus is calcineurin inhibitor. Tacrolimus sounds like tacrolimus. Calcineurin sounds like call senior in. So, I must tackle myself and not call senior, not indicates of inhibitor. Thus, tacrolimus is calcineurin inhibitor. Next method of creating mnemonic is word fragmentation. For example, divide metformin into two fragments, met and formin. Now, use these two fragments to remember the mechanism of action of metformin. Met is past form of meat, so met should remind of. Metformin helps insulin meet glucose. That is, metformin increases insulin sensitivity. The second part, formin, means formation. Metformin prevents new glucose formation. That is, it prevents gluconeogenesis. Next method of creating mnemonic is practical association, meaning correlate the topic with what we see or do in our daily life. For example, for pregnancy test, put 2 drops of urine on UPT kit. 2 drops of urine reminds that HCG is detectable in urine after 2 weeks of fertilization. Next method is to give meaning to word or words, and link that meaning with the thing you want to remember. For example, Turner syndrome. Remember Turner as turn her. She can't turn her head because of webbed neck. Webbed neck is a typical feature of Turner syndrome. Next method is Hunter's or double substitution method. This method is very creative and is my favorite one. This method can be used to remember the list of things that falls under a certain category. As a hunter uses a goat as bait to hunt tiger, you can use the heading of the category to remember the items in the list. The heading of category is substituted with a relatable word, and the items in the list are linked to that word to remember easily. This method can be applied to remember the autosomal dominant disorders. I will give you 2 examples here.
Autosomal dominant in short is AD, and AD represents time, as this is 2025 AD.
Now, let's look at the examples. First example, Noonan syndrome. Noonan has the word noon in it, which represents time, so Noonan is autosomal dominant. Second example, hereditary spherocytosis, in short, HS. HS means bedtime. Here again, bedtime represents time, that is, AD. So hereditary spherocytosis is autosomal dominant. So, these were the 10 methods of creating mnemonics. Which method do you use to create your mnemonics? Let me know in the comments section. Do subscribe for medical mnemonics videos.